Welcome back to the Scaredy Cat Guide, my friends. My name is Jenny, and today we are talking about Villain-Con Minion Blast in Universal Studios, Florida. If you're new here, this is the channel where we talk about theme parks and anxiety. We talk about sensory issues and really just anything that you might want to know if you're an anxious rider like I am. Now, Villain-Con Minion Blast is actually a ride I've never been on before, so we're gonna ride this together for the very first time. So without further ado, let's dive into those details. This interactive attraction contains sensory overload, a little bit of potentially scary imagery, and, in my opinion, a pretty claustrophobic ride system. Now let's start off by talking about those sensory elements. Now what we have here are lots of flashing lights, loud sound design, and overall just very overstimulating visuals. With its many floor-to-ceiling screens, there's really no escaping this sensory overload. To me, the visuals seem very video game-esque, with the actual interactive elements feeling pretty confusing and, in my opinion, just not very fun. It reminded me so much of having an older sibling who's playing video games and they hand you a controller that's not actually plugged in. I know some of you guys have experienced this. So of course there's a lot going on the screen. You really feel like you might be doing something, but you're not really sure. To me, that's what this attraction feels like. Now maybe I just didn't get the hang of the controls here, but to me it just wasn't the most fun experience ever, and I'm not sure I would really recommend it overall. But let's talk about how scary it is. Now there is a little bit of potentially scary theming here, particularly in the last scene. Now this totally might just be something that I personally found a little bit scary, but in this last scene we'll encounter a rotating lineup of Despicable Me villains, one of which is a giant robot whose face quite literally gets blown off during the fight. To me, it's giving Five Nights at Freddy's a little bit, and it's something that would have scared the pants off of me as a kid. There's just something about those exposed wires, and I don't know, something about it to me just felt just a little bit scarier than the rest of the ride. So just keep a lookout for that if that's something that would have scared you also. Now let's move on to that claustrophobic ride system. Now this is a unique one in the sense that there are no ride vehicles or restraints of any kind. So you might be wondering, how can this possibly be claustrophobic? Well, let's talk about this ride system. What we have here is a conveyor belt situation where you stand on a colored dot and just basically stand there for the entirety of the attraction. This conveyor belt is very slow moving, and it's not a particularly short ride at that. And with you being so close to the people on all sides of you, to me it just felt a little bit tight, a little bit confining, knowing that there's nowhere to go, you can't walk forward or backwards. You really just have to stand there while this conveyor belt moves at a very slow pace. Now this might not bother everyone, but to me, I got a little bit antsy throughout this attraction. Now, like I said, we have no ride restraints of any kind, and each guest gets their own eliminator, which they use to shoot the bad guys. Now, when it comes to the ride duration, Villain-Con Minion Blast clocks in at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, this is pretty standard when it comes to other dark rides, but a little bit, like I said, on the long side. So if you are worried about those sensory elements or the claustrophobia, just keep that in mind. To me, this attraction, with it not being super fun, at least for me, just seemed to drag a little bit. And now that you have all the facts, let's actually go hop in line. Now this one's only a 5-minute wait today, so we don't have long to wait at all, so let's go do this together. You'll find the entrance to this attraction just inside the park in Universal Studios, Florida. Now, once you enter the queue, you'll find yourself in a little outdoor area that is covered. There are a few fans outside. And when I was here, like I said, we had a very short wait time, so we were not outside for long at all. Now, after following this little hallway, you will make your way inside, where you'll find yourself in a very cool themed area with props all around, these weapons hanging on the walls, and if you're into the Despicable Me movies, I could see it being a really cool area. Now to me, I've only seen these movies probably once, but still there was a lot to look at, lots of bright colors. It was pretty noisy in there and maybe just a little bit overstimulating. But again, I didn't spend much time here at all as the line was moving quickly. Now, after winding your way through, you will find a cast member who will hand you your eliminator and direct you onto a moving conveyor belt where you will stand on a colored dot and prepare to embark. Now, once you step onto the belt, you will be immediately greeted by these large screens on all sides of you. Now, as I said, the experience as a whole felt a little bit like a video game that I didn't know the rules to. I don't know if that was just user error or if it's actually just kind of confusing. But my overall experience was just standing on a conveyor belt, looking at some crazy visuals going on all around me, and feeling a little bit claustrophobic and a little bit overstimulated. There are a series of several rooms that you will encounter, each one having different villains. You'll see some minions, some other characters from the Despicable Me movies. There are also some practical set pieces, but most of this attraction takes place on screen. And like I said, the last scene of this attraction is maybe just a little bit scarier than the rest of the ride. To me, it really was that one part, that one particular giant robot that was just a little bit spooky, and there's actually a chance that you won't see him at all, as this particular scene has a rotating roster of villains, and you might move on through before the giant robot even comes on screen. However, it is worth knowing that it's there, especially with it being so large and so in your face on this giant screen. Just know that it is a potential part of this attraction, and it can be just a little bit spooky, at least to me. Now, after this, the ride will come to an end. You will step off the conveyor belt, hand your eliminator back to a team member, and you will head towards the exit. Now, exiting this attraction is very straightforward. You will just head down a hallway, pass through a gift shop, and end up right back out into Universal Studios. And there we have it. What do you think about Villain-Con Minion Blast? Like I said, I was pretty disappointed by this ride. I had heard that it was maybe a little bit lackluster, but to me, it just wasn't even really fun. Again, this is totally my own experience, and maybe I'm just not the target audience here, but I would love to know what you think, so don't forget to let me know in the comments below. Really quick, I wanted to give a shout out to Theme Park Galaxy. Thank you so much for letting us use your footage. And as always, if you guys liked this video and you would like to see more like it, don't forget to like, subscribe, stick around, stay a while. We would love to have you in our little community of anxious riders. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next